Welcome to The Shift, the podcast that empowers you to make a change in your life and chase your dreams with passion and purpose. If you are tired of feeling stuck in a life that doesn't fulfill you, if you have big dreams and ambitions but struggle to turn them into reality, if you want to break free from self-doubt and limited beliefs, join us every week to listen to inspiring stories from regular people just like you, actionable insights, and the motivation you need to make the shift towards your own dreams. And please don't forget to share, subscribe, and leave us a review to help spread the message and inspire others.
Hey, shifters, welcome back. Friends, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have LaVonne Idlette today on my show. She's a true rock star. I don't even know where she's not, because she's an Olympian athlete. I don't know if you've been tracking London 2012 and for the fields and tracks. I think she was doing 100 meters there. She's a successful entrepreneur that owns a consortium of lots of companies. A law firm, mortgage company, investment advisory consulting, investment fund. And she's truly amazing. I met LaVonne at the fund launch live at 2023 in Florida. After the main part of day 2 was over, we had a few hours to kill before the roundtable conversations. I was talking to a few people while charging my phone. I then came to unplug my phone and I saw a woman looking for power outlets. I pointed out to the one I had used. There was something about her that led me to strike a conversation. And I was glad I did, and I knew I had to invite her to my show. LaVonne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
A lot of things that LaVonne does, maybe to invest for some of the people, and what I'd like to talk about today is how it all started for her. Without further ado, let's begin. LaVonne, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is LaVonne Idlette. I am born and raised in Hampton, Virginia. I've lived in Miami for 16 years and also between Miami and Dominican Republic in that time period. My family is American and Dominican, and so I have deep roots with the country. The great thing about track and field is I was afforded the ability to go all around the world, so I pretty much love every place. I was a professional athlete for 10 years. During that time, I was the consummate version of a student athlete. So I also got an MBA and went to law school while I was competing. I started buying and starting businesses a little bit early in life, just sort of like figuring it out. So I had my first official business right out of college, and yeah, so that's who I am, and I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. Did you say your first official business right
Yep.
at the college?
So
What was it?
So first, I didn't have a business at first. I flipped a couple of condos when I first got out of college because I met a person who what people use or call now an algorithmic offer maker. He was doing that way back before we even really knew how to use the internet well. So I got a couple contracts, but that wasn't a business because I only did that twice. It was just like, that was fun, but not something I really enjoyed. And then my first official business, I became a partner in a hair salon that was a spa in Fort Lauderdale Beach. And that was a great experience for me because I grew up in a salon. My mom and my dad are entrepreneurs. So my mom owns a salon in Virginia. My dad is a real estate developer. So I sort of always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I also was sort of being indoctrinated to the idea that you should get a job just because I went to college. And so I was taking all of the steps to go and work for Goldman Sachs or Frito-Lay, leaving college with a finance degree. I decided though, after receiving the offer amounts and the amount of time that they wanted me to commit to it, that I had jobs like in high school making like a flat rate plus commission. That was making good money. And I'm like, I didn't have to know anything to do this stuff. So there's no way you want me to be smart and pay me the same amount of money. Like I'm like, that's nuts. So that's when I knew like, okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to create my own job. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So the first one was that salon, because I grew up in a salon. I felt like I knew the business to a point. Well, like I really felt overconfident about my knowledge of the business, and and then I got a partner who was like a hairstylist. So what I learned in that though is not everybody means well and is a truth teller. So she was stealing money and doing all this stuff behind my back, and it was crazy. I ended up having to sell my half of the business to avoid beating her up, because I'm like, I wasn't built for this kind of life, and I don't want to go to jail. So
Wow, that was pretty
yes,
dramatic.
I grew up around people who just do what they say they're going to do. So even if they were going to do something bad, they're going to be upfront about it. And so you sort of know what you get. But so I went into it with rose-colored glasses. People don't lie for no reason.
I think also at some point, like for some reason, you still want to kind of put faith in those people, right? And trust those people, even though you kind of feel like, hey, there could be maybe something bad about those people, but I may probably have faith, right? And see what happens, right? Yeah. So, all right, awesome. So you just took us back to the sort of beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, right? And what was the inspiration behind pursue your dreams as an entrepreneur? What was that one thing that drove you forward?
Parents have always sort of told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, even though I didn't necessarily know what it was going to be. I would say that like their faith in like my ability to figure things out was really the battery in my back to do one thing or another.
So the face to figure things out. That's very interesting. So let's go back to the salon, right? At that time, when you decided to sort of got into entrepreneur journey and dip your toes in it, right? Were there any specific challenges or obstacles you faced when you first started?
The unknown unknowns. So I went in assuming that I knew about the salon business just because I was in a salon all the time, but I didn't know the intricacies of how people schedule time, making sure that you're receiving your portion of the booth rents or the commissions. And so the obstacles that I really faced early on was I was being robbed at every juncture possible because I didn't have the systems in place to hold people accountable, especially back then because it's a cash business. So like now, most people's businesses are online transacted or like by cards. So you can sort of control the money in a much better way than you could back then, which was 2007.
Oh, interesting. All right, cool. So the unknown of the unknowns and no systems in place. So how did you overcome them? And how did you actually stay motivated during those early stages to keep doing what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so in that business, I got a computer system and sort of forced everybody to use the POS system that I implemented as opposed to what we were doing, which was sort of old school writing down and your appointments are in a book and all that kind of stuff. That really helped. And then from there, I went into every business after that way more.
Hey, y'all.
Just a quick interruption. Would love to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Y2 Capital Group Debt Fund. With so much uncertainty, Y2 Capital Group Debt Fund was created to give accredited private investors a peace of mind. It helps investors to park their money short and long term, has 90-day liquidity, no management fees, keep investors' money safe and secure, provides stable high yield returns of 7 to 10% annually, depending on the investment size, and compounds investors' interest rate on a monthly basis. Just FYI, Y2 Capital Group doesn't accept everyone. The best way to see if this is the right match between you and Y2 Capital Group is to jump on a discovery call. The link to book a call is provided down below in our show notes. And back to our episode.
After that, way more focus on organization. And so you start off before you're busy putting the things in place so that you know where the money flows and how to hold people accountable.
That's actually a great point. So for everyone who is listening right now, if you guys are just starting your own business or you haven't started, I think part of what LaVonne is talking about is figure out the systems and processes in place early on. So if you do start growing, it won't be a distraction to you, because otherwise you probably may have a lot of setbacks, and the growth part of your business may not be as fast as you would predict.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. In every entrepreneurship journey and people that I talk to, and in my entrepreneurial journey, I have people that guide me, right? What role did mentors or coaches play in your development? Could be as an athlete or entrepreneur, right? Because I think athletes as entrepreneur, they have a lot of things in common, but this is totally completely different conversation. But did you have any mentors, and what role did they play?
Every mentor has been a complete turning point for my life, one of which is my father. And so I do own a mortgage company with my father, and he thinks he's the brain and I'm Pinky. So he's been trying to tell me what to do forever. But a lot of what happens when it's your parent, you can't hear them in the right way, in the right time, right? So it took other people saying things that sort of made me come back and listen to him. But the reason that I got into securities law after law school, well, first of all, the reason I got to law school is because I had a professor in undergrad telling me I would be great in law school. Only reason I went, only reason I ever thought about it. And he was a business law professor at Hampton when I was in undergrad. And that sparked the thought. And then I got there. I really did love law school. I thought it was fun. And then after law school, I met a guy who owned a broker dealer, which I had no idea what that was. And he became my mentor. And he's like, I like what you're doing, but which was just commercial real estate, helping other athletes put their money into commercial real estate. And he's like, I like what you're doing, but you can do this on a much bigger scale. It took me to one conference, and the conference was ADISA, which is about alternative assets. And I was talking to people who were pension fund managers and that sort of thing, and they were allocating money for fund managers. And I'm like, and so I'm telling them what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, that's cute, but your deals are too small. Like, I can't participate. And I'm like, so what size are you looking for? And they're like, $80 million. I'm like, you said that too calm. I have to figure out how to do this. Whatever you're talking about, I have to figure it out. And so that was a turning point. The exposure to what people were doing on a larger scale, which I thought everybody was sort of playing the same game, but it really wasn't. Yep.
Got it. Yeah. At any point in your entrepreneurial journey, especially when you started, right? Were there any doubts in your abilities that you could actually execute things? Did you face any moments of uncertainty?
So I wouldn't say I had uncertainty as it pertains to my abilities per se, but my uncertainty was I picking the right thing, the thing that would be the big thing. And so I spent a lot of time sort of wasting time trying to find the perfect business or the perfect thing that was going to be the thing that was going to be huge, as opposed to just acting, pivoting, and figuring it out. So over time, the businesses has grown, pivoted, split off, and all that kind of stuff, which is why there are multiple businesses at this point. But what I realized was you just have to start, and then you'll be solving a great problem and you'll get lots of business, and then you'll see another problem and you can do that too. And that is what creates a big business, as opposed to like thinking you need this like novel, great idea just to start.
You touched on a very interesting topic, just to start. I talk to a lot of people, and I think one of the biggest thing that stops people to actually start is the fear or procrastination, right? And what would you tell those people who want to start but have the fear, or they delay things because of the procrastination? Like, what would be your maybe like 1 or 2 tips for those people?
That the one thing that I would say is very much the same from sports and from business is that every day you just have to do a little something. And that little something compounds and turns into like a snowball. And so, but if you don't start picking up the flakes, then you'll never have your snowball. And so instead of waiting until it's perfect or until you're comfortable, because the truth is that courage has nothing to do with not being scared. You're just moving because even in spite of being scared, you can be scared and still like win. You know what I'm saying? It's fine. I've always been like, when I get on the line for the race, my heart is beating. I feel like I could pass out at any moment, and you still have to run the race though. So you have to sort of train yourself, and that's just a part of like building the mental discipline about acting anyways, no matter how you feel, and showing up for yourself, because the truth is time's going to pass anyway. So
Yeah.
the faster you do it, the faster you can live the rest of your life in the dreams that you want. The more of your life. Yep.
Awesome. So that's pretty awesome. What we just said, I'm just going to summarize real quick. Okay, so guys, what LaVonne was saying, just start little by little, right? Just start doing something, and eventually, it will turn into a snowball, right? So because it does have a compound effect, right? If you're doing at least 1% something a day, the 1% compounds every day. But here's another dilemma. So here's another dilemma that I see that maybe you could also give us a few tips. The dilemma is people can start, right? People can start doing something, but without seeing results, people may stop because it could be overwhelming, right? You're working on something and you don't see anything, like it's not tangible, you cannot touch it. It could be frustrating. It could be frustrated, right? And a lot of people quit without continuing that journey. What would you say? Like, do you have any tips?
You can only measure one thing, and that's your effort and your input. Everything else, most of it is beyond your control. So if you are not seeing results from the inputs that you're putting in, which is sort of like every day I say to a new person who's coming into the mortgage business, you need to go out and meet 5 new realtors, right? So that's your input, 5 new realtors every day. They may not be sending you business, but you can control only your inputs. Now, if they're not sending you business, you need to look at your other input. What are you saying when you meet them, right? And so you can only control what you input, but sometimes you have to adjust those inputs, but always only focus on yourself. And when you focus on yourself in the goal, your consistency will come back and give you the dividends. Obviously, you can't see it in the moment, but I look at it from the standpoint of even outside of business. A lot of people will say, I want to lose 20 pounds. But if you only focus on the 20 pounds and not on the, if you work out intensely 30 minutes every day, make sure you give each one of those 30 minutes your all, you will get to the goal. But if you only focus on the 20 pounds and 20 pounds and 20 pounds without focusing on the input, it may take you way longer to get to the 20 pounds. So we focus on inputs.
That's amazing. Very simple breakdown, guys. Very simple. I think if you can focus on that, it definitely can actually get you started in the right direction. But so just to summarize real quickly, focus on your inputs and efforts. This is a great tip, LaVonne. This is amazing. Thank you. It's very simple and to the point. So I have to ask you this question. Have you had any sacrifices in your life to get to where you have gotten? Right? So, because it does take a lot of time, it does take a lot of effort to get to where you want to get. So, like, what sacrifices did you have to pursue your entrepreneurial journey?
I'm probably the most extreme version of sacrifices. What I mean by that is I look at everything as it has to work or it has to work, which means that when I was training for the Olympics, for example, I practiced 6 days a week. I also was in law school, so I went to class 3 days a week. And then I was running a business. That needs time and effort and energy also. So I did not celebrate any holidays. I didn't take any days off. I wasn't going on any leisure trips. If people wanted to see me, they know where to find me. I'm at the track, in the library, or at the office. You can't. I was literally functioning like a machine to get the goal, which was go to the Olympics, finish law school, pass the bar, build a bigger business. In the route, I only focus day by day. Go to practice, go to class, go to learn. And then, again, compounding effects. But you have to be willing to sacrifice the people are unhappy with you when you say you're not coming to Christmas. People are unhappy with you when you say you're not buying people gifts this year for one thing or the other. That all of your money, energy, and attention is on the thing to reach your goal. But on the other side of that, you can give way more time and energy.
Yeah. I actually had this also in my life where, like, I've been spending a lot of time on my business, on things that I pursue, and I did have those conversations with people like that were telling me like, "Hey, why are you not available?" And sometimes it's very difficult because some of those people
Mhm.
could be your relatives, right? And maybe friends that you knew for a long time. But I completely agree that this is your life. This is your dream.
Mhm.
This is not their dream. And you have to do what you have to do. So being on the field track, in law school, running a business, how did you balance all of those aspects in your life?
Focus on inputs,
What?
doing day by day. Don't really look at it as this vast, huge goal. It's just daily. What I need to do this day, what I need to do this week to move the needle forward. And that's how I kept myself sane while everybody's like, what you're doing is impossible. Impossible is impossible until it's done. And then you're just like, I mean, yeah.
And now you proved them wrong. Awesome. So basically, it's just a daily routine that you put on a schedule, and you just follow your schedule.
And you do it regardless of how you feel, who, and what you're in the mood to do, and all of that. That's what discipline is showing up every time, regardless of how you feel and when the moment of excitement is over. Excitement isn't enough motivation.
So it's great that you touched on that. So when excitement is over, right? When that period is over, it's a grind time. Right?
And so what I tell people, especially people who are like, they want to be entrepreneurs and they're trying to go down a new journey or whatever, I ask the most important question: are you interested or are you committed? Because the people who are committed will make it. Because the excitement of the building the business phase, you got a new LLC, you got a trademark, you got all your paperwork. Now the real work starts. It's when it's not fun. And those who are committed will continue to do the work every day. Those who are interested will make excuses for why they're not doing things one day at a time.
So it's actually a great sentence. Are you interested or are you committed? So it sounds like if you're interested, it could be just your hobby, right? That you may not be paying 100% attention to. That's awesome. So pay attention, guys. I'm writing this down because this stuff is gold. So take notes. Seriously. All right. So reflecting on your early experience, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs and the ones that are just started out? I know we talked about a few things, but what would you say to them? Like, let's say I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, right? And I want to start my business. I come to you, you're my business consulting. What would you say to me?
First of all, I would say, congratulations, you took the first step. Desire. Now, what's the real goal? You're going to give me a number, goal. And we're going to work that goal backwards and we're going to break it down. So you're going to tell me, all right, I want to make $1 million this year. I'm like, okay, cool. So what's it going to take you to make $1 million? How much is what your selling cost? You're going to tell me $1,000. All right. So we're going to break that all the way down to how many sales you have to have per day to make the goal. Now, we'll work that backwards. How many people will you need to talk to get to that goal? So if you focus on that, again, we're back to inputs. That's the most important thing. Then I would also say that now that you are en route, remember that you don't need your friends or family's approval or support. You're not looking for support, you're looking for customers. Okay? So throw the ideas that people will be cheering you on out of the window. It doesn't matter. Then get in front of people who are willing payers on a consistent basis. And what else would I say? It's more important to remember why you started on the days where you're like, something crazy is going on. Because something crazy is going to happen regardless. Like, you could have the best plan, the best team, the best all of that, and something crazy is still going to happen. So get over the idea that things will go perfectly and smooth and that across some rainbow is the best thing ever. The journey is the best part. There is no real destination. You're gonna get the goal and you're gonna set a new goal.
Amazing. I think you just gave us a blueprint that people may follow step by step. And I think you should charge for that.
I have a Facebook group that I do lives just to help people through this part, which is because I talk mainly to investors. But how do you become an investor? You have to figure out how to maximize your earnings so you'll have money to invest.
Yes, that's awesome. And it would be great if you could share this Facebook group with us later on, because I think people would love that. So in business and in any business, right, you need to develop a mental resilience, a toughness, a mental toughness, right? An ability to handle pressure. How did you develop that mental resilience?
Oh, that's good. So how you do it really is you build confidence. But how do you build confidence in real life? Because everybody says be confident. But in real life, the way that you build confidence is to show up for yourself and to do it. Because when you do it, you prove to yourself that you can do it. So you just have to keep doing it, and that builds confidence, because confidence is like a muscle. It has to grow. And so you will become, the more you do that, you'll have the resilience, because you're like, if I've survived, you survived 100% of the bad things that have happened to you already. So look at that. Have confidence moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I look at life. Confidence and resilience is just realizing that you'll make it and just keep moving.
Amazing. Were there any specific strategies or practices you employed during those early stages to build that mental toughness?
I say the strategy is the same strategy that I'm telling you, but you have to write it down. So like for me, everything is real once I write it, not type it, write it with a pencil or pen. And from there, that's your daily accountability. Did you do the 3 things, 5 things, 6 things? Don't go crazy, making a crazy list. Make it 5 things that you are absolutely going to do every single day. And then you can change those things, because at some point you'll gauge and say like, this isn't that effective, or this works better than this. And that could be that like one. So if you're trying to build an audience, for example, I follow the hashtags that are important to me. So like passive investors and private equity and all of that. And anybody talking about it, I comment on whatever their post is about. I'm adding value to their community. People see it and they come and follow you. So Gary Vee called it the $2 rule. And so he's like, I give my 2 cents on 90 posts. So 9 different topics, 9 different people, and 10 different topics, 9 different people, and you end up with $1.80 worth of advice out in the universe. But it brings people to you. You will attract your tribe by being a person who goes out and gives value to what other people are saying on the same topic.
Which means a standpoint of like, be a giver, right?
Yes.
Be a giver first and ask for things.
Oh, 100%.
That's true.
The funny thing about me in business, and especially now, because like now I can and I do charge a lot for an hourly rate, right? But most people realize that like if they just come up to me and they're nice and they ask, I generally just give them the answer. Like I don't say, book a call and come back and all that. Because the truth is that like information isn't enough. We live in the age of information. So I will tell you anything. implementation is more important anyway. So never worry about giving too much information, giving too much game per se, because it's the implementation that people need help with, not necessarily knowledge. You can chat GPT most information, but how to use it is your secret.
That's incredible. That's incredible for a few reasons. Number one, I do know a lot of people that consume a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and never take a first step. Right? And it's actually this is the only reason, not a few. It's just the only one. So they consume a lot of knowledge and they never take a first step. And because of our conversations, as we just had,
I think it is about people who don't take action on the information is because when you're an information hoarder, you start worrying about step 15 before you took step 1. Like, you've not moved anywhere, but you're like, oh man, what if this happens? Like, you can woulda, coulda, shoulda yourself out of doing almost anything. But people also are successful doing just about anything you can think of. Like, there are children selling bags of rocks. So
yep. I remember like what 40, 50 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, was there like a very interesting marketing move. One of the person who was selling
the rock band.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was just, I think the rock, he was just selling a rock with the instruction how to use it. So, I don't remember the name of it, but I would need to look it up, but I know exactly what you mean. So that's awesome. Did you have any interesting defining moments or breakthroughs during your early entrepreneurship, and that actually significantly shaped the trajectory of
I was saying that, like, in general, I think that everything is like a momentum snowball. So I have definitely had windfalls of people who speak me into opportunity. Opportunity sometimes I probably wasn't qualified for, to be honest, but en route, someone saw enough in me and they would say like, oh, I know a person, and they would like bring me in. And like, so those sorts of headwinds come from not only just being out and telling people what you're doing, but also like just being a good person and being nice, because you never know who is going to be asked about you, because the world is really only 1 degree of separation, not 6 degrees anymore, because of the internet and social media and everything like that. Like, every day I have somebody say, oh, somebody mentioned you at this place. And I'm like, I've never heard of that place. And I don't know those people, but I appreciate it as long as it was positive. And so be a spreader of positivity, good energy, and giving when you can. And I feel like that opens more doors than any degrees and any aptitude you may have, because most things are figure outable. Most things are learnable. So it takes people wanting to have you around for your level of energy or sauce that you can bring.
Amazing. Guys, I hope you're taking notes. I know we'll have a recording, but I think you do have to take notes because this information is gold. Like, this is information from the entrepreneur that have multiple businesses, who have figured things out on her own. And I mean, what else you guys need, right? So this is like information that may be coming from your mentors, if you will have been.
I think another important thing that I mentioned, I failed to mention is anything that you feel like you don't have, right? Like you may need something. It could be like you're a real estate investor and you're like, I don't have no money, I don't have no credit, I don't have no experience, whatever. Anything you don't have exists in the world. Go and find a partner.
Excellent point. And I'm actually a true live example of that. So everything that I do right now in my businesses, I don't do it alone. I do have partners that we fix and flip houses, right? I do have a partner in my hard money lending business on the investment side. We're both opening a fund, right? And it takes more than just one person to actually run a business successfully. And we're all about us talking about, I'm a true life example of that. So this is a great point. Were there any valuable lessons that you have learned from failures or setbacks?
The most important lesson is, in God we trust. Everybody else needs documentation and to pay in advance. Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Awesome. You have an example of besides the business, besides the hair salon business, do you have any other examples of what and those failures and said?
I bought a piece of a business a few years ago, almost 10 now. And I was under the impression that there were a certain amount of clients, right? And the clients happen to be famous. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can add what I've been doing to what you're doing and it'll be a great partnership. I get into the business and realize that none of these people are under contract. None of these people are paying. It's just like a whole, so without documentation, you don't really know what's going on. It's just friendship. I don't know. Oh, I gave people the ultimatum, which is we can be friends or we can do business, but we can't do business for free. So here are the things.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. And so how many
decided to stay as clients because they were getting a lot of value, but the partner didn't know how. So some people are a little bit shy about asking people for money. They're uncomfortable with it. They are uncomfortable requiring things of people to be in their life. And so my entire partnership with her, I'm like beating it into her, like, you are valuable. You can't let people use your time like this. You can't. And anybody who's uncomfortable asking for the money or the sale ends up just doing a lot of things for free. They're running around. They feel like they're doing business, but the truth is that they're avoiding doing business.
It should be like a completely separate topic because it's like, I think it's, do you think it's a fear of losing those people as clients or friends?
Yep. Most people aren't as afraid that people will say no. And I'm like, the faster you get a no, the faster you can move on. Like, I am okay with people telling me no. I would rather know what I got up front than to, it's sort of like dating. If you put off having hard conversations for too long, you end up in something that is misaligned anyway.
That's an interesting point.
So so the quicker you have the conversation, it's like, I charge X for this. If this is not within the scope of your budget or what you had in mind, let's just stop right here. Because you got to at least prime it so then they can say yes or no, versus sort of like dragging them along And then they get the number and they're like, oh my goodness. Not only can I not fathom it, I can't afford it. Or I don't want to afford it. Like whatever. So managing expectations.
Yeah. Nice. And I think it's also maybe for some people could be a challenge to correctly express what they want to express when they want to charge for things.
Yeah.
In this case scenarios, in this scenario, like, maybe people are not
Yes.
good with words, how to communicate. So communication actually, which actually another completely different topic, could be part
For
of
sure. Because being able to communicate the value of your offer is the most important thing. Because most people will sort of know what you do, but like don't really know. And then like you're like, oh my gosh, that's expensive. But then when I talk about it the other way around, so like example, I set up funds and people, I know a lot of people, especially in real estate, they take money from people all the time. And it's just sort of like on the strength of the love. And they have no idea that they're selling securities. And I'm like, the cost of not paying me is the potential to go to jail. How much does that cost? How much does it cost to find another lawyer that does criminal cases, but also that will fight for you to not have your assets frozen? And like, if your assets are frozen, most likely your spouse is going to be angry at you. So like, let's look at the whole, but it takes time to learn the value of your services and how to like display them to others and stuff like that. That's a part of sales. Great books on the topic by I like Dan Sullivan a lot, so I read most of his books. And what's the other guy? He was a speaker at the event. Oh, Jeremy Miner has a really good book about asking questions to frame justifying the value of what you do and asking for the sale.
Those are great books. I haven't read them, to be honest. I haven't read them, to be honest, but I've heard about them. But I'm going to put them on my list for sure. And I think we'll share those books with our listeners in our show notes. And last question before we move on to our final round. Sometimes having mentors is enough, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes you need a much bigger support. So how did you establish a support system of maybe find a community of like-minded individuals when you were just started out?
One, I am not shy though. So let's start there. I go and speak to strangers on a normal basis. I'm going to go sit next to a stranger at a bar and get to know them and what their needs are. And like, so that's a piece of it. But I am also very much a fan of joining masterminds, mentorship programs, coaching programs that group people together who are like-minded. So then you can supercharge the getting in the room with the people who are doing the things that you want to do. I am very much a fan of that. But even if you don't want to pay for it, there is a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, a Twitter group that does every single thing you could possibly think of, that you could just jump in there and start meeting people, adding value to the conversation, and reading what people are talking about and making comments. Like, that's the freest, fastest way to get around like-minded people. But at some point, you will realize that the paid groups are always better than the free groups. That's right.
That's because they have tire kickers, right? Everyone who pays for the group wants to do better in their life. Actually, I did not meet any person who paid for the group and who said, no, I'm just paying because I don't have anything else to do.
Right.
I have not met those people. But What a great advice. Yeah, guys. So there are, LaVonne said, there are a lot of free groups and paid groups, and you just need to figure out what exactly you want to do, and you can find those groups. And if you can't find those groups, feel free to contact LaVonne or myself or any other people that are in your circle that may suggest a few. But this conversation is pretty awesome. And I would say we could probably spend a few more days talking about different things. But I don't think we have those few days right now. So let's move on to the final round. The final round is the moment of truth. Okay? I'm going to ask you questions and try to answer those questions as fast as you can without thinking too much. All right? All right. So the moment of truth.
Not
What do you think
ever having
strength is?
Like, I meet a person, we become friends. That's it. I don't know no strangers.
What do you think?
Taking on too many tasks. So I used to have a problem saying no. So I would just say yes, 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 yes. And then you end up spread too thin.
What's your biggest fear?
Not getting to share the fruits of my labor with my family more.
Name one educational resource
Who
that
not?
made an
My dad
impact
told
in building your business. Great book. What?
My dad.
Name a person that made the biggest impact in your life. What was one question you always wanted to be asked but never did?
I'm not sure. Maybe why I no, I don't know. I get asked a lot of questions. That's a hard one. Why I waited till I was 37 to have a baby is probably one that people have not asked me.
Alright,
Me.
maybe it's because people don't know your age. Last question. If in 100 years science fails to save us all, and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title and the blurb be that could tell us about LaVonne Idlette?
Show up consistently, love people first, use money and all of the entities as a tool. Yeah.
Perfect. There you go, guys. LaVonne Idlette.
Thank
LaVonne,
you. Thank you.
Thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for coming.
I really enjoyed
It was a
it. Great
pleasure.
conversation.
Great conversation. I'm sure we can probably. I'd like to invite you to have another conversation, maybe a little bit more advanced for some of the advanced people that we have. But today was amazing. Guys, I hope you took notes. And I hope you will have conversation with LaVonne Idlette. LaVonne, how
People can
people
contact me by going to firstclassgroup.com, which is my website, or you can follow me on Instagram at LaLaHurdles2. I'm on LinkedIn as LaVonne Idlette. I am on Twitter being funny, so definitely follow me on Twitter. My screen name is Idlette, my last name. And if you want information on that Facebook group or any of that stuff, it's in the link in my bio on Instagram. LaLaHurdles2.
Awesome. Thank you so much, LaVonne. And I'm sure we'll talk more offline as we have a few topics to discuss. But guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please contact LaVonne for any questions that you have. She's amazing.
I appreciate it. See you later.
Well, we'll see you next time.
We hope that today's episode has inspired you to take action towards building the life you've always wanted. Don't forget to leave us a review, share, and subscribe to our podcast for more empowering stories, actionable insights, and motivation to help you make the shift towards your own dreams. Thanks again for listening to The Shift.